This episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast is brought to you by Sari Clementine Clothing, located at 366 South 500 East, number 104, in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 34 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. I'm your host, Chris Hollifield. I am your guide from episode to episode as I lead you on that journey through beautiful Salt Lake City as I introduce you to individuals, professionals, musicians, just everyday people that are helping make Salt Lake City just a little bit better to live in. So thank you very much for your support, for downloading this episode, for listening, however you're listening, streaming online. I appreciate it so much. Your feedback, your emails, your voicemails, that's what's keeping me going. We are located at iamsaltlake.com. You can listen to each and every episode of the podcast. That way you can get to know everybody and anybody that's, like I said, doing Salt Lake City, just making Salt Lake City just a little bit better. Give me a call on my voicemail, 385-202-5926. I love to hear from my listeners. I love to hear what you think of the show, some feedback, ideas. If you want to be on the show, hit me up on that voicemail, 385-202-5926. Give me a call. Tell me what you think. Take just a few seconds as well. We're located on iTunes at I Am Salt Lake. Leave us a quick review. Tell me what you think of the episode. Tell me what you think of the podcast. It helps out our ratings, gets us in front of more people. So anyways, like I said, thank you very much for taking just a few minutes out of your day. It's hard to believe that January is pretty much halfway over as we are into our journey of 2013. And let me tell you, I have some wonderful and awesome things that I want to bring on to this podcast in the very, very near future. So thank you very much for those of you that have stuck with me since the beginning, seen the progression of the I Am Salt Lake podcast, and for your feedback. Like I said, that's what really keeps me going. It's been a fun journey to explore Salt Lake City and see what's making it tick, and seeing what's making it's such a wonderful city to live in, and a city that I can truly be proud of. Salt Lake City is truly a beautiful city. So thank you very much. Like I said, iamsaltlake.com is going to connect you with us, and that's going to be your best bet. So you can let me know what you think of the podcast. Also on Twitter at iamsaltlake, and facebook.com/iamsaltlake. Connect with me and tell me what you think. Anyways, on this episode 34 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast, I had a chance to sit down with this is the first time I have brought a local hip-hop artist onto the podcast. Figured it'd be something a little bit different, showcase somebody a little bit different. He goes by the name Atheist. He's a local hip-hop artist here. His name is Scott. I sat down with him and kind of discussed what got him into hip-hop, what got him into local hip-hop. We also kind of branched out, found out he does a local podcast as well with his wife called Frankly, My Dear Podcast. It's a movie review podcast. We talked, everything. Even down to found out he went to wrestling school. This kid is on top of his game. Anyways, this is a conversation I had with him. He recently put out an album called Thanks for the Burgers. It's a free download. I'm going to put all the links at iamsaltlake.com/episode 34. That way you can download the album, connect with him on Facebook, and let him know what you think of his music. Check him out next time he's playing somewhere nearby. Thanks for the Burgers. Anyways, I also play a couple of tracks from that, and you can take a listen to that as I talk with him and find out all about what he's doing. So anyways, I'm going to jump into that conversation that I had with Scott, and I appreciate you. Thank you very much for checking out the I Am Salt Lake podcast. I have Scott with Atheist. Mm-hmm. You've just put out an album.
Yep.
What's the name of the album?
The album's called Thanks for the Burgers.
And when did you put that out?
August 8th.
August 8th.
So it's been about 4 months now.
Excellent. And we'll obviously jump into that here in a second. Mm-hmm. But I kind of want as much history as you care to share. I kind of want to know, I mean, you grew up here in Salt Lake City.
No, I grew up in California.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We talked
Yeah.
about that before we got started. You grew up in California, and when did you come to Salt Lake then? At what age?
Probably about 5 years ago. I
Oh,
was
wow.
in my
So
early
you're
20s.
So fairly recent. Fairly recent.
Yeah.
And what brought you to Salt Lake City?
I met my wife we were both getting our masters at San Francisco State, and she's from here. She's from Utah County, and so after we
the
finished,
famous Utah County.
yes, right after we were done with school, she said, "I'm moving back to Utah. Do you want to come?" So I said, "Yeah."
And
then
if
we
you
moved
would have
out
told
here.
her, no, I don't want to come.
I don't know what she'd be doing now. I don't know what I'd be doing
But
now.
so how did you? So you moved to Salt Lake City though, instead of Utah County. Is that where she's got family?
Yeah,
in Utah
she has
County?
family in Utah County, but loves Salt Lake.
Okay.
Wanted to go to the U. Now she's getting her PhD at the U, so that was the plan to move back. And so we're right in Sugar House. And Salt Lake is awesome.
Yeah.
The idea for this podcast is so awesome because people, I had California expectations of Utah, and when I got here, I fell in love with Salt Lake.
But was there a little bit of a culture shock? I mean, honestly.
There was some. The more I go to Utah County,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Utah County is definitely it's changed a lot though in the last 15 years.
I'm just starting to meet a lot of musicians from Utah County and like realizing what that scene is like, and
They
it's
have a
fantastic.
phenomenal music scene.
Yeah, I can't believe it. And also, I started getting into doing my own music here, and the opportunities that Utah has are incredible.
Yeah.
Like Blueprint came through, and I got to open for him. Like people buy those spots in other states. In this, I sent an email. I get to know the promoters, and I say, "Oh, I love Blueprint. Can I open up for him?" Okay.
And they were like, bam.
Yeah.
That's one thing I notice in Salt Lake City and Utah in general is you could be successful in whatever project you do, because for some reason it's small enough yet big enough at the same time.
Exactly. Like there are great hip hop groups that come through, but there's also great local talent. I'm doing a show tomorrow night with Chance Lewis and Apt and some other Salt Lake guys, but they're from Provo. And they're coming down. We're doing a show at Kilby Court tomorrow. So locals are putting on great shows too. And there's just a lot of opportunities to do stuff.
So how did you get into, so you moved to Salt Lake, and then were you doing any kind of hip hop stuff in California, or how did you get kind of?
No, I had done some rap battles. That's sort of how I got into, I've always listened to it. I always listened to hip hop my whole life.
What were some of your earliest influences in life? I mean,
It's gotta be Slick Rick.
Slick Rick.
Like there's a song on my album where I talk about how I made we used to make cassette tape, like mixtapes. And I'd never heard Slick Rick's children's story before. I had taped it, and the tape stopped halfway through. And that's a song where he's telling a story.
Yeah.
And so it was years. It was before the internet. I didn't know who sang the song. I didn't know how the story ended, and it took me years to find it.
Yeah.
And it just became this obsession about finding this song. And so Slick Rick was a big one. The Far Side, when I got into high school, was a big one. I started getting into like really jazzy hip hop. When I was in college, there's a group from Oakland called Crown City Rockers. They're a huge influence on me. They're a full band with a MC at the front. And I started going to their shows religiously. I've seen them more than anybody. And now it's such a huge thing for me. On this next album that's going to come out, my album, 2 members of Crown City Rockers have made beats for this album. And so when I was front row, a huge fan of theirs, never thought in the world like I'd ever make hip hop, let alone with them. So yeah, I just got off the phone with them and worked stuff out, and I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of going through a little bit of a timeline here. So you came to Salt Lake City. When did you decide? Okay, I want to get into the hip hop scene. You said a rap battle or something.
Yeah, I had actually been. I went to shows and wasn't aware that Salt Lake had a big local hip hop scene.
How is it? I mean, I'm not familiar. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I'm not really involved in the hip hop scene.
Yeah, I was here for probably 3 years, and I saw the same people open for the big groups that came through, and started to be like, oh, there's a handful of rappers. And once I actually got into it, I started doing rap battles on U92. That led to doing more rap battles at a bar in Murray called Barbary Coast.
And do they still do rap battles there?
They've stopped doing them now. There's a whole new scene. So this is like the third big scene for battle rap in Utah. Now there's an organization called Mike Masters Alliance, and it's ran by a guy named Synchronize, and he's been putting on high quality battles for the last couple years. And the big switch for me was freestyle battles where you don't write anything down to pre-written battles with no music. So you have, a month to write, who you're going to face, and so you can just get really intricate, and you can work out schemes and just make it as complicated and as smart as you want. And then you go and you deliver 3 rounds worth of your meanest lyrics and at your opponent. It's fantastic. Mike Masters does a show probably every 6 weeks or so. And the scene is just getting bigger.
Where are the shows at?
Last one was at the Salt House, which is a venue that just opened up.
Okay.
It's on 4th West. It's owned by the same people who own the Pickle Factory.
Oh, yeah.
And we did one at Uprock Records on State Street. And we've done, I don't know where the next one's going to be.
Yeah, how would somebody listening find out about these? I mean, is there a website to go to?
They have a YouTube page. They have Facebook pages. If you go to YouTube and type in Mike Masters, M-I-C Masters, you'll find my battle plus tons of great battles. It's really surprising. I watched rap battles for years and years and years before I ever, did my first battle. I was a huge fan. And then who knew, coming to Utah, I would get into it. And there would be something there for me. And this is what we were talking about earlier. There's just opportunities here.
Yeah.
I went up to Synchronize and said, hey, I want to do a rap battle. And he said, okay, you're on the next one.
And maybe there, in another state, you probably wouldn't have had such a great opportunity, you think?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think
why do you think that is?
I think it's a numbers game. You just have to prove yourself a little bit more before you can even get into the bottom level of certain things. Battling right now, there's a big league that does events in LA. And if you want to do that, you have to prove yourself at tryouts or other small leagues and submit your footage or know somebody who knows somebody. And it's just harder to get in, whether you're good or not. But Utah, if you just come and say, I want to be a part of the scene, I want to support the scene, I want to participate, they'll say, okay, you're in. And then you have to prove yourself, And luckily for me, I had my first battle a few months ago and it went really well, went in my favor. So
you had your first battle just a few months ago.
The first of this pre-written style.
Okay.
Everything before had been freestyle. And so this pre-written style is just, in my opinion, it's the future of battling. And it has been for the last couple of years.
Wow.
It's cool. The energy at these shows are like nothing else.
See, and I, like I said in the beginning, I really hip hop. I mean, I grew up. I mean, when 12, 13 years old, I listened to a lot of Run DMC, Two Life Crew, Too Short. You know what I mean? But that was kind of. Then I got in kind of the punk scene. You know what I mean? And so I kind of left that whole. And there was a great. I don't even know if they're around anymore. Provo Numbs. I don't.
Oh yeah, the Numbs.
I don't even know if they're around anymore.
They're not together as a group. But Johnny Utah just put out an album, and he was a member of the
Was
Numbs.
he?
Yeah,
See, and
so he just put out an album.
Okay.
And I had a battle at his release party.
Yeah.
So his album is called Johnny 316, and it's fantastic.
Okay.
And then I think Linus Stubbs also produced for them. They were before I moved here, but they were one of the first names I heard when I came.
Funny thing about Linus, me and Linus, and I've never even heard any of his work, but we've been Instagram friends for a while. He posts on Instagram, and that's where it really even led me into doing this podcast. Is I just took a boatload of photos. I got really into alleyways and graffiti and of the city.
Yeah.
And Linus, and I didn't know he was into the hip hop scene. Then I knew he went out to California for something. I don't know. Anyways,
he just put out an album actually in the issue of Slug that just came out today.
Oh, okay.
His new album got a great review.
Oh, excellent.
So this actually, of the local reviews, there were 3 great reviews. Brisk One, he got a great review. Umang and Linus. So it's like the hip hop in Salt Lake is blowing up right now.
See, and I love you already because you plug other people. I love that. No. You know what? And I think that is so important because I think if more people would recommend other people to people instead of being like, oh, they're my competition.
Right.
If everybody would just scratch each other's back, we could go so far in this city.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Everybody's got a different style. I mean, it's just like with this podcast. It's like you might do a podcast too, but it's a completely different style. I mean, I'd love for somebody to come in and do the same style of podcast and it would just make, if anything, podcasting more. People listen to more. Same thing with hip hop.
Exactly.
They might find out about one artist. Oh, I got to find out about more local hip hop. Then they find out about you. And
if you don't like my music, but you hear me, reference someone else.
Well, if they don't like you, they can go to hell, right? No.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm the best, and the rest fall in line. But no,
I'm just kidding.
It's fantastic. Like when I put my album together. My album features a lot of local MCs and a lot of local producers. No one knew who I was. Some followed me doing freestyle battles out of Barberry, but mostly it was just me contacting MCs and saying, I'm a fan of your work. I'd love to get you on a track on my album.
So let's talk about your album here for a second. So when did that come out? It came out, I think it said August. Yeah, August of this year.
Started working on it.
Not
year ago.
It came out August of 2012. This year, we're in 2013.
Right.
Now. So I still, thank goodness I don't write checks because I would have the date wrong on it, right?
Yeah, that's my goal for the year. That's my one resolution is to write 2013 on everything.
And everything. So it took you a year to put it out.
Took me 8 months. Took me from January to August because I basically had to learn how to rap. I've done battles, but that's nothing compared to like making a song. I'd never made a song. I don't have many friends who are musicians. This was completely new to me. And I really just like worked my ass off.
It's a great album. I
Thanks.
mean, let me tell you. I mean, when you sent me that link over, I was just like, I got to talk to this guy. This is awesome. I mean, in fact, is it free for everybody? I mean,
it's free.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know if this is for a limited time.
No,
it's
a free album.
Okay.
You can get it at 801atheist.bandcamp.com or just Google "Thanks for the Burgers."
Okay,
I'll pop up.
And
first.
I'm going to put the link on the iamsaltlake.com website with the episode show notes and everything, so
Perfect.
Everybody can download them all. And so it took you that link. Now, did you make any of the music on it, or did you just rap?
No, I just rapped. I took advantage of just some of the greatest Salt Lake producers. Wes Thompson, he produced the album in its entirety. I did it at his studio, and he was fantastic. He was really patient with me, and the first time I showed up with ready to rap, he said, well, you know what? Maybe we don't have to do anything today. I spit my stuff for him, and he's like, why don't you come back next week, and we'll try that again. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And I went home, and I retooled it. I came back, and he said, okay, now we're ready to start. He was really probably the biggest influence on, like, getting my craft ready, that sounds so pretentious, but getting to the fact that I wasn't going to put out something that embarrassed myself. And I had no idea. When I put out the album, I had no idea if people were going to like it or hate it. And then it got a huge, like a great review in Slug, and it made Rio's top 5 of the year list. And so
do you give out a CD
fantastic.
at your shows at all, or is it all just strictly
It's
down?
all strictly downloads. I haven't pressed any, but I'm planning on doing like a Kickstarter campaign to fund the next album. So one of the rewards for the Kickstarter will be like a physical copy probably remastered.
Well, let me know, and I'll talk. We could talk about it, or I'll mention
Great.
it on the podcast. Hey, check out this Kickstarter.
Cool.
I think Kickstarter is a great thing.
I do too.
I mean, I did an episode with a girl stitched cards who makes cards, embroidered cards, right? And she just ended today a Kickstarter to get her out to New York, and she got it funded.
Oh, you know what? I think I funded that.
Oh, did you?
I think I kicked $5 in for that. But I saw that. Such an interesting project.
She made it work. She's great. She's from Salt Lake City here. And she's going out to like the National Stationery. And what I love about Kickstarter, and obviously you'll do with yours, is it's not like people are just giving you money. They get something in return,
right?
But yet they help the artist achieve their whatever their end goal is.
I love how open you can be with the rewards that you get. Yeah. There will be some projects where I never thought I would give them $50.
Yeah.
But the reward for 50 is so much cooler than 25. So I do it, because I want this thing that comes in and I'm happy to help. And I'd rather buy stuff from independent upstarts like Kickstarter than just go get it on Amazon.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's
what was the most back to your album, what was the most challenging thing, do you think, with doing that?
I think probably finding a tone that worked. I'm a fat white kid that grew up in like a trailer, so it was I didn't know what kind of music to make, and I just there's a lot of rap out there where that the people rapping, it's a facade. It's like it's a character that they've made, and they're rapping about things that they've never done or never experienced. And I just thought that this was going to be something my friends were going to listen to. So every line was just finally looked over. There's nothing on there that my friends could be like, no, you didn't. You don't own a Benz. You never killed anybody. You never sold drugs. So it was like, I didn't want to be cliche at all.
Yeah.
And balancing between, because there's a whole genre of hip hop called nerdcore, and I'm not really a part of that genre. I don't listen to a lot of it. My background isn't in it. I like it, but it's just like I have a song on this album about Ninja Turtles, because I love Ninja Turtles. And it's called Mikey Was the Best, because I feel Mikey was the best Ninja Turtle. But nerdcore will put out a whole album about Ninja Turtles and Star Trek and just focus like solely on
and is that
nerdy stuff.
Hip hop stuff?
And it's hip hop, but they only rap about nerd stuff. So I have just like a real balance. I have nerdy songs. I have songs that sample like Star Trek, but I also have a song about how I had to find soul music and jazz music on my own because my parents didn't own any of those records. My dad was big into folk music, so I grew up listening to James Taylor, but I never listened to James Brown. And so getting into hip-hop, because that's what was on the radio, led me to find all of these amazing artists like Stevie Wonder and, just all of this whole new world of music that wasn't in my parents' collection. And so I make a song about that, and that really wouldn't fit into like a nerdcore album, but somehow it all fits in mine.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest, was finding out what I wanted to say with my album and finding a balance of.
When I think you did a heck of a job doing it.
Thanks. The reception has been 100,000 times better.
Well,
than I thought
that's
it would be.
that's what I was going to ask you next here. Is you mentioned like review and slug, but like the actual public. I'm sure you've gotten some feedback from public. Say somebody who you didn't even know. I mean, what's
cool.
What's been the response been like? I mean, pretty
it's
good,
been
or what?
really good.
Obviously, I got you on the podcast because of it. So.
Yeah, and I mean, with this, you put a post up saying I want, maybe some music to play. So I sent that thinking I'll never hear back. Like here's my rap, and then you say come on the show and be interviewed.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that people were gonna like it as much as they did. I thought it would just be something that I did while my wife was getting her PhD. I needed a hobby, and so I thought I'd try my hand at this, and it's turned out to be really good.
And the fire engines distracted me. So With the name Atheist, though, how is has that, do you think maybe that's turned anybody off, though, maybe in Utah, or is it kind of maybe made people intrigued a little bit?
I think both.
Like, what's this guy,
Yeah, it's certainly been memorable for some people. Some people have really latched onto it, and now people on Facebook will send me atheist stuff. They'll see a meme come on, and they'll be like, right? And I'll be like, yeah, cool. Like, I'm not a militant atheist.
But it's not like any of your tracks or anything are like,
just one.
Is there one? See,
I just had. I wanted to. I always say that I'm an agnostic who lives like an atheist.
Okay.
Because I'm not a militant atheist. I don't need to convince anybody else to be an atheist. But I grew up Mormon, and it made me miserable. And when I stopped being Mormon, I was like immediately happy all the time.
The only problem with you saying that now is everybody's going to try to reconvert you back to being a Mormon now.
Well, I live in Sugar House. They can drop off as many cards as they'd like. I wanted to make a song that dealt with the fact that my name was Atheist and that, I do live like an atheist. I don't know if I'll ever do a song like that again. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I feel I kind of said everything I was going to. So who knows, like down the line I might put out another one, or I could do a whole album on it, but it's just not that big a part of my life. The name, I was doing a battle on U92, and they said, what's your rapper name? And that's what I came up with. I had no idea I was going to do the Barbary Coast battles, the Mike Masters battles, make music. This was like on an off Tuesday night. They said, come to the studio and do a rap battle. So I said, okay. So I just came up with Atheist. And when they brought me back, 2 weeks later, I was still Atheist. And then when I was contacted to do Barbary Coast, they knew me as Atheist. And it's just gone on like that.
So what I want to do here, actually, let's play a track from that album. You tell me which one you want to play.
Let's do one of the nerdy ones. Let's do Mikey Was the Best. That one... I'm getting ready, probably going to shoot a music video for that one. That's, I think, the catchiest one. It's how I close most of my shows. I'm really happy with it. I got a great DJ to scratch over it. Wes Thompson made the beat. It samples the Matlock theme song. It was just, I had no idea I was going to make a song about Ninja Turtles, and that's what came with it. I love this song.
Okay, excellent. So we'll play Mikey is the best?
Mikey Was the Best.
Mikey Was the Best. Atheist, and we'll be back with more of the conversation after it's done here.
You must never stop practicing the art of ninja, the art of invisibility.
Oh, but no anchovies. And I mean no anchovies. You put anchovies on this thing and you're in big trouble, okay?
Michelangelo.
That'll do. And the clock's ticking, dude.
Mid-80s baby, Scorsese, Swayze. Diane Lane used to drive me crazy. Lark on my go-kart, Peach and Daisy. Raised by TV, so I grew up lazy. We kept comics mint. Who's your favorite turtle? Start an argument. Ryan had the cars that were hard to get. Trade this one for that on some barter shit. Cable black box bootleg PPVs. Bumping BBD through my tube TV. Butterfinger BB's back for diabetes. Put down the pizza kid, pick up the Wheaties. I'm a pop culture vulture. Chase girls, throttle bot Testarosas. Duck hunt gun, hip holster will roast ya. You can't rap like this, but I can coach ya.
Mikey was the best, Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best, Mikey was the best.
Fuck Leonardo, Mikey was the best. Fuck Donatello, Mikey was the best.
Mikey was the best, Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best, Mikey was the best.
Fuck Raphael, Mikey was the best. Nunchucks were the shit. Cowbunga bitch.
All right. Time for some answers.
Welcome to the dead house. Stay out the basement. My haunted mask will make your ugly face twist. I bought some monster blood, yeah, the green shit. Say cheese and die. Say cheese and die, bitch. Golden eye, sundown to sun up. Mom tried to butt in, tell mom to shut up. Grounded for a week, grounded for a month. Got a Game Boy stash, so I don't give a what. Your ass is ratchet, I go gadget. Cypher around the school, my bus is magic. LCW, backyard wrestling. On my lunch break, Magic the Gathering. Chilling with my Gordo amigos. Back in the day, they used to call me Gringo. And we only ran for burritos. Checking my pockets like, oops, where'd my green go?
Mikey was the best, Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best, Mikey was the best.
Fuck Fuck Leonardo, Mikey was the best. Fuck Donatello, Mikey was the best.
Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best.
Fuck Raphael, Mikey was the best. Nunchucks were the shit. Cowabunga bitch. Mikey was the best. Nunchucks were the shit. Your girl gave me crank, she a cowabunga bitch. Red face sting or the crow paint sting. No know how to thing the Mariah on the tire swing. Don't teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Doug funny. Flips and pogs, lost all my money. Up early for cartoons, sleeping on Monday. Fights and fisticuffs. I don't give a fudge what you B-words want. So what? You wanna fight your friends? Fight the fat fucks, then your friends again. Wax slang, peace out, I'm good, man, damn. Schnikey, sight, tight, tubular red. Schnikey, sight, tight, tubular red. Wax slang, peace out, I'm good, man, damn.
Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best.
Fuck Leonardo, Mikey was the best. Fuck Donatello, Mikey was the best.
Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best. Mikey was the best.
Fuck Raphael, Mikey was the best. Nunchucks were the shit. Cowabunga bitch. Your girl gave me crang. What the fuck does that mean? Shredder. Build me a body.
Mine like a steel trap, this one. Know what I'm saying?
So, anyways, we're back now. We're back now. Sounding like we're some fancy radio. Anyway, so let's say you made it big, or you had an opportunity, you made it big. Anyways, you already did make it big. You had a great out. Anyways, let's say you could pick anybody to go on tour with, even dead or alive.
Yeah.
Who would you like to go on a full U.S. tour with?
I think it's the band that I mentioned earlier. It's Crown City Rockers. They were a huge influence on me, and I think that they're just one of the best hip-hop groups of all time. They put out an album in the early 2000s called Earth Tones. It's cliche, but that album changed my life. That changed what kind of hip hop I was into. It got me into more independent hip hop. I started listening to the guests that they had on that album, and so it just opened me up this huge, beautiful Bay Area hip hop and jazz scene. And so I'd love to go on tour with them. They put on the best show. And as far...
Have you ever performed outside of Utah or Salt Lake City?
Not yet. Planning, hopefully, this summer to do a couple shows in California. Trying to get the name out and get people ready for it when it comes out. Probably when the next album drops. Thinking the next album will drop in August.
But do you think, I think social media even helps bands and musicians get their name out there a little bit quicker versus
Definitely.
prior to internet days of even having to have a demo tape or,
Right.
and
or
then
having the tour.
Yeah, having a tour. I mean, things like Facebook. I don't know what social media sites you utilize. Use Twitter at all?
Yeah,
Or
I have a Twitter account. I have
or-
a Facebook fan page. I have...
Is there a Reverb Nation? Do you have a Reverb?
I don't have a Reverb Nation yet, which is silly because it's a great site and it's how I found a lot of the people who I asked to be on my first album.
Okay.
I listened to, hundreds and hundreds of local rap artists before making a phone call. I just wanted to familiarize myself with so much that was out there. And so I was always asking people for CDs or for mixes and asking people for, well, who do you like? I want to, And so when I finally put out Thanks for the Burgers, there's a list of rappers on there that maybe hadn't worked together before or didn't know each other. Maybe their only connection is me. They're all just Utah hip-hop, and they're phenomenal. There's more than a couple tracks on there where I feel that the people I had on there outshined me. I had, there's a girl named Lala on one of my tracks, and she killed it. I brought her into the studio. She took almost no time to get her stuff done, and it's still one of my favorite verses on the album.
And is she in another hip hop group, or she just?
Yeah, she does some stuff with High Def, and I don't even know where I met her. I think she was just in the studio.
Oh, I thought you
once
said she was
with
just in the
Wes
streets.
Thompson.
You just met her on the streets,
no.
you know?
Do you rap? Come with me. She, no, I think she was in the studio, had a session before I was. She recorded with Wes Thompson. And I was like, I got to get you on a track.
Yeah.
And so she killed it. Dr. Nick, a lot of local MCs. Lefty Two Guns is on the album. I wish I could remember all of them. I have a song, one of the best, in my opinion, songs on the album is called Push Off the Walls, and it features a girl named Lauren Hoyt, and she sings for a ska band called Show Me Island.
I was going to say, the name rings a bell for me.
She's fantastic. She's just got this like really unique voice, and when I had my CD release party, I had Show Me Island play. So I had Drew Danbury from Provo play some, indie, singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah.
I had the Dine Crew, which is this like really young, energetic, like Wu-Tang Clan. They're all like 17, 18-year-olds, just a rap group. Had Show Me Island, the ska band. I had Rotten Musicians, who are they're more of like a nerdcore rap group. And then I had myself. So that release party was so fun because I wanted to get like genres like to just come together instead of having it all be rap. I was like, oh, let's throw ska in. It was all the bands I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that's how I set up my release party. We had like
And that's
a
the way it
hot
should
dog
be.
cart.
That's the way it should be, though.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel confined that you're going to turn people off by having a ska band at a rap show. And it was definitely interesting to see ska fans watching rappers and rap fans watching a ska band or a nerdcore, or, you could definitely see it on a lot of people's faces that they were just like, "This, I don't go to ska shows. I don't know how to move to this music. I don't know if I like it," but everybody seemed to enjoy the show overall. So that's probably how I'll do my next one.
And that was in Provo? No, that
was in right at the Pickle Factory.
Pickle Factory.
Right in Salt Lake.
Okay, yeah. Isn't that place great? I love that place, the
Awesome.
Pickle Factory.
Yeah, it's really good.
I hope they keep that place going.
Yeah, so they've opened up the Salt House now, which is their indoor venue for during the winter months.
Yeah, you were mentioning that. Okay.
So, yeah, the girl who runs it, Hillary, she super easy to work with, was really down to give me anything I wanted for the show. Like, I could completely recommend working at the Salt House. Like, that's probably where my next release party will be.
Excellent.
She's cool.
If you could change one thing in general about the music industry as a whole, not just on a local level and a national level, what would you change if you could change something? Or is that kind of a loaded question?
Yeah, no, that's a hard one. But they, when I listened to one of your episodes with the guy from Utah Musicians,
yeah,
and he said he would change everything.
Yeah,
and I understand where that's coming from. I have no dreams of making it big, so trying to get a record label.
Let's stop there for a second. Then, why wouldn't you want to go big? Why wouldn't you want to make this hip hop or rap or whatever it is? Full time.
Maybe I'm too new into it, and I don't even see that as a possibility.
Okay. Okay.
I have a career, but rapping sure makes me happier for sure. I don't know if I'm willing to put in the work to make it a full-time job. But if something were to happen and tomorrow someone were to offer me a record deal, I would take it. If that suddenly just magically occurred, but it's just and
then you could have the Benz and the
right, and then
the ladies on your arm,
and then I'll start selling drugs and I would want to. I wish there was a better way for really talented people who don't fit a mainstream mold to get known. I think what I would want to change is the demand, not so much the system that's saying, Justin Bieber should be the number one, Taylor Swift should be the number one. I just wish that people had better taste. When I was in high school, I had terrible taste. It took me a really...
you were kind of maybe the dorky kid, the nerdy kid in high school?
I listened to... Yeah, I was definitely dorky in high school.
I mean, I think
Still
we all
am
were,
now,
and I don't mean that in a bad way.
But I had terrible taste. I listened to what was on the radio and didn't want to hear anything else.
Okay, I got
As far
you,
as rap, I was like, No
you.
Limit Soldiers, Master P, best hip-hop ever made. It was it was ludicrous. But I wish that there was a general attitude for young people to say, I want to hear all kinds of types of music. I want to go find Stevie Wonder. I also want to go find, someone who's only put out one album in the 70s, and I wish everyone had that hunger that I have now and that I got really like in college to go out and find music. Because the internet, you can go find music anywhere. You can go find any sub genre of music, and you can find the most specific music that completely fits what you're looking for. But what's hard is a lot of people are just lazy when it comes to music. And a lot of people just listen to the radio and don't go to local shows and don't show up for local events unless Snoop Dogg comes, and opens up. Or headlines.
Did you go to that Snoop Dogg show?
No, I was at a local show that night.
I kind of wanted to go though. You know what I mean? It was Snoop Dogg. Come on.
Yeah, I've seen Snoop Dogg live probably 3 times, and he's amazing. But there was a local show that night, and I said, I've seen Snoop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see.
Well, plus it was the end of the world, so
yeah. Who knows what was happening?
Yeah. No. So, anyways, yeah. So, what do you think of a lot of bands? How do I word this? Like pirating music, downloading music. There's so much obviously of that going on. There's a lot of bands that are up in the air. It's hard because obviously you want to give the money to the bands, but yet, and I know everybody's not this way, but back in the day, like when Napster first came out,
right?
I would download something, and chances are, at least I would. Mm-hmm. I would usually, I really like this. And then I'd run out and I'd buy the CD. Right. And I like the CD because I like the inserts and to get the lyrics and to get all that. And now you can get all that on the internet. But do you think that really hurts bands when like downloading quote unquote illegally, I guess you would say?
No, definitely bands that are signed to labels that have big expectations for how many albums you need to turn around before they pay for your next album.
Yeah.
If you're at a certain level, piracy is hurting you a lot. For somewhat, since Bandcamp has come around, and since even iTunes and even the different ways to get music from smaller independent. I've spent more money buying music this year than I have probably since Napster came out.
Okay.
Because I feel that the music is going to the artist, because I've been getting into smaller local indie bands, not just hip hop, just any sort of music. The more musicians I meet, the more I want to support them and support my scene. But it's still hard for me when Snoop Dogg comes out with an album to go pay $15 at Target, knowing he gets 50 cents from that.
Yeah.
Well,
see, and that even back to like what you were saying, say you were to hypothetically, I know your album is free on there.
Right.
But you paid your own money to produce to put it out, and it's not. Even like doing this podcast, it costs money to do it.
It costs a lot of money.
And so it's like when somebody says pay $1 or 99 cents, or it's like, you know what? That really helps those musicians out. Mm-hmm. Especially on a local level. Like I tell people, buy a T-shirt, buy a CD at a local show, buy something, or a piece of art or something to support the local.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, Snoop's only going to see 50 cents and,
Right. And that system, should change.
Yeah.
That system is antiquated, and that system isn't leaning towards what to help the artists. But also, those same labels have made him very rich, and they have that exposure, and he's being able to make money through other venues, if not off album sales. He can do a guest verse for someone and charge $10,000, or he can go on a worldwide tour that they help put him through. And so he has a lot of opportunities to make more money. It's just, to me, more valuable if someone gave me $10 for my album.
Yeah.
I feel,
well, that could really make or break even your next album or your next project or something like that. What inspires you to write? Where do you get your inspiration from?
From the music. From the music that I get from producers. I've started meeting a lot of really talented producers from Salt Lake, and now I'm working with some producers from California and from other parts of the world. I just got a beat from Sweden, and so it's just completely different. And that's the internet. I heard a local rapper, and he had all of his production was done by this guy in Sweden. So all I had to do was send one email and say, hey, I like your beats. Will you do one for my album? And within, a week, I had a new beat. And then when I sit down to write, I just listen to the beat. I've heard my next album in the instrumental form probably 50 times, and I don't have any of the songs written for it. And it's just, I just play the album, and I have the order of tracks that I think I want it to go in, and then I'll just listen to it over and over and see, is this just musically something worth listening to? Does it need something else? And then while I'm listening to it, a song will come on and just like an idea will spark on my drive to work. And I'll scribble it down and then build from there.
Yeah.
So it's really, I can't
keep a little notebook with you at all times. And
or I'll text myself or something or email myself. I can't ever write, and a lot of people can do this. They'll fill up a notebook with stuff and then they will take what they've written and try to fit it to a beat. To me, I have to start with the beat, and I think that's just a personal preference.
What would you recommend? Like, say hypothetically, I wanted to get into hip hop, and I was like, man, you know what? I want to try rapping. I want to try what would you recommend to me? What would you say? Hey, I would do these couple things. I mean,
I think the first thing I would do is I'd make you a mix of local Utah rappers, and see what you can do on the budgets that we're using. And some people are putting out amazing stuff for not very much money, in a big picture sort of way.
But to just and would you say to listen to that to kind of get it in my head, to learn how to put words together?
When I started,
or is that something you think you're born with, or that you learn?
If you didn't grow up listening to hip hop and obsessing over hip hop, it's going to be hard. You're gonna, you've got a lot of catching up to do at that point. For me, when I started writing, I was familiar with the structure. I'm just sort of like obsessed with music, So I've always had, and thanks to Napster, I can have as much of it as I want. I can have I have gigs and gigs and gigs of music and hear all sorts of different influences. But if you haven't really obsessed about hip hop and know the different things you can do with hip hop, it's going to be hard. I think you're just always going to be influenced by what you're familiar with. So if you only listen to gangster rap or whatever's on the radio, you're going to go try to make that.
I mean, do you listen to anything besides hip hop? Other music?
Everything. Yeah, I listen to my favorite album of the year was the Avett Brothers. And they're just this cool, laid-back folk group. I listen to instrumental stuff. I'll listen to heavy metal. I'll listen just really anything. Hip-hop, it always comes back to hip-hop. That's what I get most excited for. But I've always just listened to everything.
Now, and I might have asked you this in the beginning. Do you play any musical instruments?
No, and I wish I did.
No guitar, no piano, no. Did you ever take music lessons of any sort?
No, saxophone for 6 weeks.
Which is crazy because especially like growing up. I mean, it seemed like we all had those parents. Take your lessons. You got to go practice the piano for 30 minutes.
I'm sure they would have loved it, and I wish that I had.
Yeah.
Now it's so frustrating. I would love to make my own music to rap over. And it got to the point where I was trying to make my own beats. And I thought it's going to take me years to get where I want to be.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and contact these producers who've already spent those years getting their craft ready. And we're going to make something together. Yeah. I would love to make my own beats. And maybe someday I will. But it's just right now. You got to respect people who can play instruments but also know how to record and know everything that goes into that, and then mixing and mastering. Each of those are separate years worth of talent to build up.
But you got to start learning some, you know what I mean? That's I tell myself that all the time, even, I'm too old to do this, I'm too old. And it's you know what? In 5 years, it's going to be 5 years, and I might as well learn how to do whatever, whatever.
That's true.
Whatever.
Yeah, my wife is learning Spanish now.
Yeah.
And after
see, that's another thing I want to learn how to do. And it's okay, well, I'm 35, but let's learn Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's absolutely did it. Yeah. She just went and took classes at the U, and next thing you know, we're watching Mexican wrestling. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I know what they're saying." I was like,
So
"When did you learn
did
Spanish?"
you always watch Mexican wrestling?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Now you can understand
Yeah.
it or something, right?
Man.
So tell me something. Tell me something about yourself that people listening this is one of my funnest questions. Something, okay, you come across, you're this hip hop guy and this and that. Tell me something that people listening probably would not expect from Scott.
I went to pro wrestling school when I was 18.
Okay, now I'm blown away. You went to pro wrestling?
Pro wrestling school. I wanted to be a pro wrestler when I was 16, 17,
like Hulk
18.
Hogan type wrestling, WWF?
Hit somebody with chairs, and that was what I wanted to do. Completely ignoring the fact that I was out of shape and short and didn't have.
Well, isn't
what it
that the
took
point
at
of
all.
wrestling is to be out of shape and
I don't know.
short?
Nowadays you've just got big, giant, steroid-ridden monsters, and they're all 6'7", and but that was something I did. I've always had these hobbies that I'll really focus on. So my friends and I in high school we did backyard wrestling. And we built our own little ring and just pretended to fight each other, And so we did backyard wrestling, and that sort of how it is, it sort of parallels what I did with hip hop. I started knowing other groups of wrestlers from my area, and getting into that scene. And I was asked to go to another group, and we ended up doing big shows in middle school gymnasiums.
And this is in California.
This is in Central California. So we did a sold out show at a middle school.
What was your
gymnasium.
wrestling name?
I was El Gringo.
El Gringo.
El Gringo. I had a tie-dye shirt.
So I
and
should
afro.
probably label this podcast "Interview with El Gringo."
Right.
It would probably get more downloads.
Probably.
because
more than Atheist. Yeah.
because you were famous one time as a wrestler.
It's funny that there was a time in my life. Now it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
But we used to be big shows, and I started. It's cool. It really does parallel how it is with hip hop, because I started.
I want to see this
now
parallel.
that I'm thinking it, but because I got to a certain level where I was opening up for heroes of mine. And they were professional wrestlers, but as I was coming up in professional wrestling, they were coming down, and we sort of met in a middle school gymnasium. So it was guys who I had been watching for 10 years were on their way out. They were getting ready to retire, and they were doing smaller shows, just trying to make a living. But I was on my way up, and so I got to open up for guys like Juventud Guerrera and Greg the Hammer Valentine, guys that I grew up watching. And now with hip hop, Rappin' Forte did my intro for Thanks for the Burgers, which is he's almost pretty much who got me into hip hop. That's who I should have said when you asked me earlier. Slick Rick and the Dangerous Minds soundtrack, and he's on that twice, and opening up for Blueprint. So it really has paralleled. I do things harder. I work hard enough to get to a certain level where I'm opening up for people that are big influences for me.
Why did you stop going to pro wrestling school? I mean, I'm
I went to college. It was that sort of thing. I just didn't have what it took, and I knew it, and we all knew it. Our whole group. Some of them went on and did it for a few years after I did, but it's really hard. It's
to make it as a pro wrestler.
Yeah, and you just really. You're doing a lot of shows in front of 30 people. Again, being an independent hip hop guy.
But as a hip hop person, you're not getting beat up and the risk of permanent damage to your body. I guess besides being shot or something.
Right, of course. I had friends who really hurt themselves, and that was sort of a sign to get out. It was just some accidents, and I just moved to a new city and it just sort of it wasn't a hard transition. It's sort of I went off to San Francisco to go to college, just focused on that. I went to film school. So I just sort of started focusing on that. I started screenwriting a lot and loving San Francisco. And
so have you written any movies then?
Yeah, I've written 2 feature-length screenplays, but they're both terrible.
Well, terrible. Well, I'll be the judge. So what I mean that kind of leads me. I mean, I always am curious, what other hobbies and interests besides hip hop? I mean, obviously, film,
wrestling to film, and then my wife and I do a film podcast called "Frankly, My Dear," and so we're almost to 100 episodes on that. So
yeah,
really,
let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you'd want to bring that
sure.
up. Frankly, My Dear.
Yeah.
And that's a film podcast.
Yeah, if you go to franklymydearpodcast.com, that's our website. We both got our master's degrees in film studies. So we watch movies more than we do anything else.
And can people find that on iTunes and all that too?
Yeah, we're on iTunes, and we've had a really good response with that. But it really has been, those were my phases. It was like I did, wrestling, into film and podcasting, and now into hip hop, and I have no idea what it'll be next. Maybe I'll start brewing my own beer. There you
go. And I mean, that's kind of even with what, again, you're another perfect person to showcase on the podcast, because it shows how fulfilling life could be when you keep yourself busy. You know, when you're doing cool stuff. So.
And Salt Lake is such an awesome city because it allows you to do stuff like that. There's a independent wrestling promotion and a wrestling school. If you want to get into that opportunity is there.
Here in Salt Lake.
It's here in Salt Lake. And so we go to those shows. We were talking about shooting a video for Mikey Was the Best. So I just went and talked to them. We're going to shoot part of it in their ring.
Nice.
We're going to shoot part of it at the video arcade we were talking about before that we started recording.
Atomic Arcade.
Atomic Arcade out on Highland. I went in and talked to him, and he's like, "Oh, whatever you want. Come on down. Whatever. Come down and shoot a video."
I got to get that guy on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I gotta bring him.
His
on.
name is Chris as well. He's the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Atomic Arcade. When that showed up in Salt Lake, I was like, I never have to move. That was
I don't know
last
if you've
thing I
ever
was
been to
missing.
Nickelcade. I mean, that place is no Nickelcade.
Right.
I mean, this place it's almost like it's made for adults. You know what I mean? Like it isn't made. Anyways, well, that I appreciate you coming. I mean, is there anything? So, let's talk about your websites again. Anything else you want to add before we close this out a little bit?
I'd love to have people check out the album. It's free. It's 100% free. You just Google "Thanks for the Burgers" and you'll find me, or you can find me on Facebook or Twitter, or you can go to 801atheist.bandcamp.com and you just get my album. Give it a try. It costs you nothing.
And how did Facebook? What is your
Facebook? If you look up, it's actually Facebook/Thanks for the Burgers.
So Facebook.com/Thanks for the Burgers. And then on Twitter, your name is?
I think it's 801atheist.
801atheist.
Yeah.
And again, I'll try to get all those links on the IamSaltLake.com page. So if that's wrong that you just mentioned,
let you know.
I'll search that. You let me know, and I'm going to get the right link up there.
Yeah.
Any words to live by? Any recommendations? A movie or a book or a CD that's changed your life, an album?
Yeah. So CDs, it would be Crown City Rockers, Earth Tones. It's in my opinion, like a perfect album. It's awesome. My favorite movie of all time is The Warriors from 1979.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah. And then my favorite book, I don't know. I just started reading Thunderstruck by Eric Larson. Like, I'm a big nonfiction guy, and so that he did The Devil in the White City, which was awesome. It was about like a serial killer and the first serial killer in America. So it was like a fantastic book. And words to live by, Mikey Was the Best.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Scott. And anything else before I hit the stop record button? Well, I'm going to play another. What other song do you want to end here with?
Let's do Push Off the Walls with Lauren Hoyt from Show Me Island. They're another local band. And on the next album, we're actually working on doing a full song together, like me and the band. I'm going to rap over a ska song. And so that to me is huge because I've never worked with like a full band before. So.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll end the podcast with that song. And thank you very much for coming on the I Am Salt Lake podcast today.
Everything is fine on the other side. Push off the wall, push off the wall. Everything is fine on the other side, on the other side. Push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall. Everything is fine on the other side of the blue sky. push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall. And everything is fine on the other side of the blue sky. Push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall.
You feeling good, good. I'm feeling great, great. Let's breathe deep and partake. No need to meditate. My mental state set it straight. Today cannot be the day that I start to stay at pearly gates. And anyway, at any rate, I'm okay. Go grab a DVD and put in smiley face. No way, heavyweights. No way, smiley face. Wait, do I own that? No. Put in heavyweights.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is alright. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is alright.
Boy, this is weird.
You're telling me I got my PB, my spoon, and I'm cool as Mo D. Cool in the gang ain't as cool as me. The cool kids try to be B.O.B. without a beat. But cool like this you can't find. Can't be 50-50 like a skateboarder grind. I'm grinding all the time. Why? Listen to my rhymes. California's my state of mind. State of Cali, state of Cali, state of mind.
Everything is fine on the other side of the blue sky. Push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall. And everything is fine on the other side of the blue sky. Push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall, push off the wall.
There was a time when I was in junior high. I picked up a pen, I put down my first rhymes. You're the gasoline that I need to set the whole world on fire. Now that's on the track. How surreal's that? 15 years later and shit was still fat. That's alright, that's okay, sit back, relax. No way, that's what made me fat in the first place. Get up and move then, get up and move then. Push off the wall and just float across the room, man. Get up and move then, get up and move then. Push off the wall and just float across the room, man. Everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is alright. Everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is alright.
Boy, this is weird.
You just said that, and everything I say be so quick to make your brain crack. Warriors come out to play, from Coney and Y out to the Bay. Inhale then exhale, slower than a 6-nail. Liquor may be quicker, but hiccups be quick to hit ya. I'm slamming off the Richter, tell your son or sister I went pop like a blister, outfitted with tongue twisters. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Shouts out to Whit, Brad, Ryan, Taylor, Chris, oh shit. I just said that. Oh shit. Man, I got green on the brain. Secret of the ooze. Oh shit.